Hello, welcome. Kelly here, Kelly Soroka Life, and today I have a special reading for you. Today is the new moon in Sagittarius. So this is the last new moon that we have for this calendar year. And if you are where I am, it is cold and dark, and we are getting ready to go into the winter solstice and move into the winter season. So it is definitely a time for introspection, a time to go inward, a time to reflect on the things that have gone on during this year, whether it was good or whether it was bad. And if it was probably a mix of both, good and bad, this is a great time to really just pause, to really give yourself a chance to go inward and to be quiet and to look at the things that went well, look at the things that didn't go so well, and see, some of those things may be things that you don't want to carry into the new year and things that you want to get rid of. And the new moon at this time is a good time to start looking at those things. And then when the full moon comes up, then it's time to really let it go. But right now, you just want to, look at what your intention is for this moon cycle, for this last new moon in the calendar year. And I've never really been a fan of having just that one day everything resets. We go from December 31st to January 1st, and everything you should have everything in order, everything in line, everything ready for the new year, because that's a lot of responsibility. And that's a lot to put on people when you had a whole year to do things and a whole year of things to happen to you. And maybe you feel like that the beginning of your year starts, at another time. If you're in school or you have kids in school, September might be the time where you feel like that you are resetting things. And, that's a time for a reset. The fall might be a time for you. And especially, if you're a more witchy person, in the time around the end of October and Samhain and Halloween, that time might feel like the time for you to reset. And maybe going to the winter solstice, that might be the time that you want to reset. Some people like to do spring and have that just new spring energy and feel like that's a reset. So having this kind of one day that we feel like that everything has to be done and has to be done well and has to be put on, has to be organized, it's a lot of pressure. And so I really feel like having these moon and working with the moon cycles, and that's one of the reasons I really like to work with the moon cycles, is because it gives you this chance to work through this process and look at the thing and evaluate, look at the things that worked, look at the things that didn't work, and then decide whether you want to carry it on into a new year or not. So that is what we're looking at today with this new moon, this last new moon in the calendar year, and how you can really leverage this time, this season of introspection and reflection going into the new year, so that you are prepared, so that you don't feel like that you get to January 1st and after the holidays and you're just everything you feel like that it should be all sunshine and roses, and you're just like trying to clean up from the holidays. And so let's use this time to be introspective, to be reflective, and as much as you can, slow down and go inward and do the things, say yes to the things that you really want to say yes to, and say no to some things, some things that are going to that that are going to be energy drains. Say no to them. Just say no. Say, I can do that. I can put it on the back burner, and it doesn't need to be done right now, and it's something I can do later. or it's something that I really need to just not do and just to let go. And sometimes that's what we need to do. And when we look at the full moon that's coming up, in a couple of weeks, we'll look at that as well. But today I want to do a reading for you for the new moon in Sagittarius. And the Sagittarius energy here that we've been in, the sun has been in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius energy is it's the fire energy. It's a fire element. It's the last of the fire elements. If you look at the zodiac wheel, and we have Aries as the first fire, that starts in spring, and then we have in summer we have the Leo fire energy, and now we're moving into this last fire energy in the astrological wheel. And it is in Sagittarius is very expansive. It's very looking at your horizons, seeing where you like to travel, looking at other cultures, reading, going into higher education. All of those things are very Sagittarius energy. And so we have this, and it's kind of interesting, and it's very interesting because we're in this kind of this moving into this liminal space of the darkness, and we're moving towards almost to the winter solstice, which is the here in the northern hemisphere the longest night. This kind of new moon energy here where it's cold and where it's dark, and it's very introspective. But then Sagittarius is very expansive, and it's asking you to look out and to be creative and be passionate and to learn something new. And so look at that, and look at that and see how that plays out for you, and what are some things that you might want to be curious about. What are some adventures you might want to have? What are some spiritual spiritual practices that you want to do? What is something that you want to look at, maybe that you thought worked for you this year and just hasn't? So we're going to look at those things, those four elements of Sagittarius energy with this reading. And I'll have a picture of this with the cards that I've drawn, and also a picture of this reading so that you can look at it. You can do your own reading later if you want to, or you can just do some journaling or some meditation, however you want to use this reading. But first, we're going to look at the first question is about curiosity, because Sagittarius does have a lot of it is very curious. It's a curious energy. It likes to look at things, but as opposed to Gemini, which is a more just really curious and just likes to be curious about everything, Sagittarius is more curious in a deeper way. It's a deeper, Gemini has the breadth, and is great because you can use that Gemini energy to really learn a lot of things, and then you can focus in on Sagittarius energy to then see, what are you curious about, and then how can you go deeper with it. And so Sagittarius is about that, expanding that curiosity. So what should you be curious about right now? What should we be curious about right now? And for this one, and this is the Steampunk Tarot, and this one I drew let's see if I can get it straight for you, the Nine of Cups. And this is just a beautiful card. The Nine of Cups you'll hear it traditionally called the wish card. It's that card where things have just gone your way and you just feel great and you've gotten that you wished for. So here, being curious, since we were asking what should we be curious about right now, well, what is something that you're wishing for? What is something that you wish would happen? What is something that you maybe worked for this year or wanted to work for this year, but you really didn't have time to do it? Oh, and it got put on the back burner, or you got kind of shuffled off into something else because you needed to pay attention to something else at this time. So really think about your curiosity. What is something that we should be curious about, and think about your wishes. Think about things that you want to do, things that you want to accomplish in the new year. And with the 9, the 9 is almost to the 10. So the 9 again is that very Sagittarius energy, that expansion, that going into the 10. So, we have that, expansive energy. So look at that, look at what you want to be curious about and dream big. Let yourself dream, let yourself be open, let yourself be very, very expansive in what you're curious about. And then that will lead you definitely into things that you really want to do in this coming year. So that curiosity, what should we be curious about? And the nine, with the 9 of cups, look at your wishes. What are you wishing for? And let's make it happen. All right, next with a Sagittarius energy is adventure. Sagittarius is very adventurous, likes to travel or likes to learn about traveling, likes to go places, likes to do things, likes to, experience new things, experience new cultures. And that could be, in lots of different ways. That could be, actually traveling. A lot of Sagittarius um, a lot of people who have a lot of Sagittarius in their chart do like to travel. They like to go places, they like to actually go places. And this could be just going to the park, having lunch in a park setting, or it could be taking a trip around the world, or something like that. So looking at that Sagittarius energy and looking at adventure, how can you bring, or how can we bring in a sense of adventure into our lives? And here, I love this too. This is just a very we have the Knight of Pentacles here. I'm trying to hold it up so that you can see it better. But the Knight of Pentacles, and this is such that kind of liminal duality space that we have with this new moon, this darkness, but with this very fiery, expansive energy. And that is the Knight of Pentacles in a card. The Knight of Pentacles, the Knight is fiery, it's moving forward, it wants to go places, it wants to do things, but it's also very grounded. With the Pentacle suit, the Pentacles are grounding, are the material things, are things that we need to take care of, our finances, our diets, our health, our homes. And so the Knight of Pentacles is that adventure of this time of year, especially if you are in a place where it's hard to get out sometimes. A lot of places in winter, in the coming winter in the northern hemisphere, it's cold, it's hard to get out, it might be not be your favorite time to do things. And so having that energy of that fiery, how can you bring adventure into your life, maybe if you don't want to go outside, or how can you really capitalize on what's going on in your environment? How can you take on, how can you look at what's going on around you and bring in adventure at the same time? And it might be, like I said, very simple. It might be a time that you want to travel. It might be a time that you say, I've always wanted to go, to a certain place, and you just make the plans and you do it. Or it might be, I've always loved this author. I'm going to sit down and read this book. And so it might be just, something that simple. Or, just watch videos of people that have traveled places that you've been or that you want to go. Look at those things. Look back if there's somewhere that maybe you went during the summer, or maybe that you went during this past year, and go back and look at the pictures. Look at what you did and how that happened for you. So doing all those things, but being very intentional about it and doing it in a way that is grounding for you, that makes you feel really good. And so that's how you can bring how we can bring a sense of adventure into our lives right now. All right, 2 more cards. So Sagittarius is also embraces spirituality. And so it's very much spirituality in as opposed to more Pisces spirituality, which is more like spirituality of the collective, of the divine, the gods and the goddesses, like this transcendent feeling. Spiritual and Sagittarius spirituality is more how you can do things for yourself, how you can, what are the things that you want to explore within like a confines, like within a religion. Do you want to explore, maybe you there's somewhere that you have a Christian story that of somewhere that you would like to explore, maybe that you grew up really really having Mother Mary, as part of your devotion or your spiritual life, and that's something that you want to explore these days. Or maybe it's something that you want to do something totally different, that you're on a path and you really want to learn something new, and that could be a way that you can do that. So here the question is, how can you, or how can we attend to our spiritual needs? And here we have the Two of Wands. And I love this because the Wands is fire. It's the fire energy. It's taking something that you're already doing on one side and adding to it, making an opening, finding a new path in between things that you're already doing. Maybe you feel like that you are kind of being closed in on a practice that you've been doing this year, or you've really enjoyed something this year that you've added to your spiritual practice, and you really want to expand on it. And so the Two of Wands is saying, do it. Look at what is it, what is it that's really made you feel good in your spiritual life, and how can you move forward with that, and just open it up a little bit, go take those Two of Wands and really open up where you want to go, and what you want to do and what you want to experience in your spirituality. And Sagittarius, it may be just a study. It may be something that you just want to know more about. Maybe you read, maybe a friend of yours is a Buddhist, and you really are fascinated with Buddhism, and you really just want to find out more about it. You want to find out more about Buddhism. And so you just want to study it. And that's, it's a good way, the Sagittarius energy is a good time to do that. All right, last card, and this is truth. What truth do we need to know? So going into this time, wherever you are and whatever you're doing at this time of this new moon in Sagittarius, wherever you are, wherever you're living, whatever practices you're doing, whatever you've done for this year, whatever you are planning to do for the new year, whatever your environment is like, whatever the weather is like around you, what truth do we need to know right now? And so here we have the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is it's a and I think it's one of those cards that is like, it's like a cliffhanger at the end of a book. It's, what are things that I've really grown, and I've they served me well, and what are things that I have grown and they have not served me well, and what are things that I think that maybe I would like to do, but I just don't think that it's working, and it's going to work out. So it's like the cliffhanger. It's looking at things and really taking time to evaluate what you have grown, what hasn't grown, and it's, if something has grown, is it time to reap the rewards from it and move on? Is it something that you want to keep growing? Is it something that you want to then, is it something that didn't grow very well? Do you think it just needs more attention? Do you think it just needs a little shift? And then it will, you can then reap the rewards that you really want to have? Or did you try something and it's growing, and it's just not doing as well as you want it to? And is it time to just let it go? Is it time to just say, it's time to let it go. And because it's the Pentacles, it has that kind of growth, rebirth, and that kind of, where are you in that cycle in different places in your life. So and you can look at that in different places and find the truth. Are you in a place where you're in, maybe you tried a different kind of exercise program this year, and it worked, and it was okay, but you didn't really see the results that you wanted to see. And so, take some time. Don't just, chug it just and say, well, that didn't work. Take some time to really evaluate it. Sit down, make a pro and con list. Did what worked about this program, what didn't, what did I enjoy, what did I not enjoy, how could I improve it, and do I think that it's worth working on to make that improvement, to then invest in it to move forward. And it may be something that you want to not do. Maybe it's something that maybe you're thinking about making a change in your career, and really sit down and think about it, and look at what has gone well, what has not gone well. What is it that you specifically are working forward? And because we've got that 9 of cups on the top, and so, we're looking at our wish, we're looking at how we want things to be. So take some time over the next couple of weeks to look at those things, look at the different areas in your life, and what are the truths to be found in those areas. So that's it. Those are the 4 cards, and those are the cards that for the reading for this new moon in Sagittarius. And like I said, I will have a picture of the cards and a post on my channel, and I will probably also have a post somewhere on Facebook and Instagram, so that you can see the cards and see the reading, so that you can use it for however you want to use it. But look at this time, and look at the things that you are curious about. Look at the things, the way, how do you want to bring adventure into your life? How do you want to change or not change, or grow your spirituality? And look at the things that have been true for you this year, and how do you want to work with those in the future. So that's it for the new moon in Sagittarius. And remember also that I do have a reading, a whole month-long tarot for transformation reading experience that we can work one-on-one. And this would be excellent, since we are going into the new year. This would be an excellent time to do that, to participate in that reading, to sign up with me, so that we can work together and work through we would have weekly 4 weekly Zoom meetings, where we just work one-on-one. We pull the cards, we look at what you want to accomplish, what's going well, what's not going well, what you want to what your wishes are. What's your 9 of cups out there, and how do we get there? Because tarot is great for that. It's great for diving in, and you can see, just with the cards here, tarot is wonderful at diving into the questions, and giving advice, and giving action plans, and giving things that you want to do. So that the information about that will be below. And if you want to, if this is something that you really are passionate about, and you really want to make some change in the new year, let me know, and we'll work together to get it done for you. So happy new moon, and I hope that you have a great new moon in Sagittarius moon cycle the next few weeks, working with the new moon in Sagittarius, and that you have a wonderful Yule winter solstice, whatever other holidays that you are celebrating with you or your family or your close friends, and that you have a wonderful holiday season. And I will see you again next Friday. Bye.